We are at Dwight Baker's studio in Austin, Texas, and we're here to write a record. I got to go to a studio and I got to make my record, you know, with a dope producer and have, you know, me and my best friend. I get to hang with my friends and just create for 2 weeks. This will, up to now, be one of the greatest small periods of time in my life.
What band is this? What band are we talking about?
We came down here with the hopes of taking Eight Graves to the next level, really. Eight Graves is pushing on 6 years old now. Brett and I have been making music together for roughly 16, 17 years I've known him.
They called and said, will you mix a song? And I mixed Bad Faith for them. And then I think they liked the mix so much, and I did some changes in it too, production-wise, and just try to get it closer to something I would do. And then they called and they said, hey, can you just produce a bunch of songs? Whatever you did to that one to save it, we want to start the process on a better footing.
Having a conversation with Dwight, he said all the things that we were hoping to have someone say to us one day. Honestly, it really was, I almost can't even explain it. It just lit up my brain. And I wanted to get everyone on board. I wanted to be like, this is the next move. This is the move, right? We're gonna make music that we never even knew we could make. We're going from a place where, is Eight Graves done? Are we meeting the ninth grave? All our lives are used up? To suddenly spinning that on its head and saying, fucking anything is possible. Anything.
We don't know what the fuck we're gonna do. This is gonna be fun as shit, but we don't know what we're doing.
Their process was broken.
You just get to a point when you realize, and when you're honest with yourself, you've gone as far as you can with the current configuration and methodology when it comes to making music or growing your brand or becoming artistic, creative, all of those things. And this conversation had happened.
The first thing I realized when I talked to them was that two lifelong friends, which those guys are, were not getting along and were not on the same page.
Aggressive and dirty. Nothing like a nice audio brick to inspire you to greatness, to propel you. Woo!
I'm so inspired right now.
Do you want me to go? I have so much more of a defensive thing to Nick because I'm like, what, you don't care about what I have to say. But like my emotional tie to Nick is so strong that it's easy for him to hurt me.
I realized about 3 minutes into a conversation with Brent that he just needs to be supported. He's a singer and he's super sensitive, but he needs to be supported. He's a person that needs love.
I'm not asking or begging, but I think begging just speaks better. I'm not begging for forgiveness. Just know I tried to change. Dunzo, dude. You're a machine.
I haven't had a lot of people in my life tell me I'm good at anything. My whole life, nothing. I never really had people close to me that encouraged me to do the things that I loved and to tell me that, hey, that's cool that you did that. How did you do that? Even when I did some shit that was pretty cool, I think as with what I create and the way that I write and the way that I think and the way that what I do goes into my songwriting, that pain is there. That lack of self-assuredness is very present. It's very interesting to have that come out of me and to have somebody there who knows what it takes to make a super high-end song, successful track.
How cool is that shit?
Tell you like, yeah, dude, that's it. That's the stuff. You're killing it. Keep it up. Like, you don't want to be the guy that's like, somebody tell me I'm good. I feel like I'm not good enough.
cool things that are cool.
It's in here, and it ain't going away anytime soon. We're working on it, therapy. But like, you know, I need that.
He can't be told no all the time because I think he grew up that way and that doesn't work. So for him, it's always like, this is great, keep going. And I think when he heard that a few times, then I was able to dial that back and be like, okay, this one isn't good, I don't like it. And he was fine with that because he knew I was being real with him. You are capable of better than this.
You know, the people closest to us have the cleanest cheap shot, dude, always. You know, when Dwight's like, nah, I'm just not feeling that. I'm like, all he means is he's not feeling it. There's nothing behind this. That's my own psychosis, you know, that's my own brain. But that's so much of what I fight against is just in my own head and just getting myself into an environment where I'm not distracted, where I'm not weighed down by anything, where I'm not reminded of the shortcomings of my life. I'm not reminded of the shortcomings of my support system. All I have to do is just the thing.
And I think with Nick, he was getting frustrated sitting in his studio, getting notes from management and Brent and not knowing what to do with those notes because he thought that maybe what he had was going was cool or whatever.
So little bit by little bit along the way, these things start to twist and to turn. We've spent most of our time at full-time jobs. Myself, Brent, even our manager, Mike. And you have to make sacrifices to do that. And we thought we were enabling Eight Graves to grow in the way that we wanted to grow, or how you're supposed to grow. As siloed as we are, we don't really have a whole lot of people in the industry, especially creative ones, to fence off our process and our mindset. We've kind of created a mindset. And as we went along, we realized like we were making sacrifices kind of in the wrong way, really. You know, we got away from the natural process of things.
Yeah, give it a writer. Yeah, it took me a dome. There you go. Yes. And I think that when we did Bad Faith and I was able to kind of fix the things that were driving him crazy, apparently, according to him, for a long time on that song, I think he was just like, oh, I don't want to do this part of it. Nick will eventually be a producer, and I think he likes to do that stuff, but I don't think his brain is not like, let me mix this. I think he realized, oh, I can hand that part off. I can get rid of that.
Mess around on it.
Okay.
If it gets crowded, we don't have to use it.
I'm wondering if it would do something in the chorus. Sure. You know? I guess it just kind of depends on how rock you want to be with it.
Right. So
Because of the pandemic, we're not writing in the same room.
We're not gonna go back to the way that we were doing it. It can't be me in my mom's basement and Nick in his bedroom, working apart from each other, drop boxing each other's songs back and forth. Like, it just can't be that because there's no joy.
I'm in my room alone, there's no feedback. Music is enjoyed together with people. When someone's in the room with you and there's that moment, sometimes you may have missed it because you were playing it and you're like, oh, I was worried about that 1/8 note. Well, did it crush? Did it slam? Did it make a goosebump happen? You don't really get that feeling when you're doing it all alone by yourself, an hour after hour after hour after hour after day after week after month, whatever time it takes.
There was no memory made. And while the songs that we made, I listen to and I enjoy them, I don't have that love for those songs because I don't have any memories of making them. I don't have any experience around the genesis of that song. The songs that I'm the most emotionally attached to since Black, because in Black we did them in a room together. And then we started siloing off. You know, we had work, we were busy, we're just trying to make it work. And we had built our lives, and then we're trying to figure out how to keep music in it. And I think going forward, it's gonna wind up being music first. And as long as we can survive doing that, that's how it's gonna be.
Having that dialogue has never happened. And the fact that it's happening now, I feel just as a part of Brent's lyrics, that he does feel as a part of things I'm doing on guitar. He'll sit in front of me, and when I was tracking, he's like bobbing his head and like making sure I know what bar it was. And ooh, that was sick, you know, doing shit like that. It's like, the fact that we get to do that here, and it is about committing, because we've committed our time to be here. We committed our time a month and a half prior to getting here, getting together every single moment and writing 3 songs in a day. To find the ones we were gonna do while we're here. And then while we're here, finding the sound and committing to it.
I found that when I left myself with decisions downstream, that the records sucked for me, because then I wasn't making any decisions. I was leaving all decisions for, maybe it's this bass sound, but maybe it's this bass sound. And what happens is then you don't shape the rest of the track to that a decision, and then nothing is decided, and it's just this giant democracy of sounds that no one actually has a reason for being there. I like a dictatorship in my process.
Oh, there it is.
I have something to say. I'm being held hostage by Nichols. Save me. Water, dog.
Water.
Help. I dial in a drum sound that I think is cool, and then I dial the bass sound to that. And then the guitars work with that. And then the synths work with that, and the vocals work with that. Down that building block. And if you dial the drums wrong, it may mean that everything is off and not right. But if you dial them right, everything just faders up, sounds like the record. And that's what I try to get it to where just turning shit up. It pretty much sounds like The Thing.
And just having somebody from the outside feel like, that's the one, Dwight screaming in the background, "Daddy Light."
It's hot, too. Just gets in, fucking hits you in the dick, and gets out.
Gets the fuck out.
Yeah, so just drag them in the same way, put them where you like them.
You're like, okay, cool, we got one. We know we have something there, and we can commit to that and move forward. There's times we spent a month trying to figure out, like, what sound do we use in this one part of this song? Like, we do that in 30 minutes now with Here, because we have somebody to reassure us. And ideally, you arrive at the point in your creative life that you don't need that reassurance, right? You don't need that validation to know when something is good or something is not. But until you have that experience of someone guiding you and helping you and telling you that what you do is good, and that what you're creating is of quality, it's difficult to shake that negativity out of your head and to just be able to so easily commit to something and still feel like, well, am I doing my best? Am I putting the requisite work in? Am I trying hard if I only spent 15 minutes on it? It's like, if it sounds good, you try it as hard as you need to. But that's so hard sometimes. Just having that bit of guidance to walk through that process is something that we've never had before. Particularly Nick as a producer, right? He's never worked with another producer like this before.
Pre-chorus melody, there's probably maybe room for both.
Okay.
But I would start with the one shots and then decide if you want something else. Yeah.
He's learning, and I know that it will affect our process when we go back home to write more and do stuff on our own. I know that a lot of this is going to come home with us.
I don't think I'm holding their hands. I think it's more like how a colt walks. It gets up and then falls right down, and it gets up and then falls right down, and it gets up the third time, and the mother just watches, and the second it gets up and it kind of gets its balance, she just kind of pushes it. Like, okay, go. That's all I'm doing. I'm just pushing their little coltling bodies around. It goes.
E.
The E minor?
E major.
Major?
Yes. And in the chorus, we're gonna want the 2 chord to be a major chord. The second chord. This has to be major.
Okay.
It's because he hits the harmonic in there.
Well, here, I'll let you adjust. Sure. It's like a newborn baby turtle trying to make its way to the sea. And if you're Nick, you're going super slow because you're stopping every 2 minutes to take a nap. But there's this me. I'm like a bigger, like little more strapped up baby turtle. And I'm like, yo, Nicholas, get up. And I'm just shouldering him just a little bit. And he's like, okay, Mr. Dwight. And I just go, come on, boy, get to the water. And we go like that. And he goes, okay, Mr. Dwight. And then to safety. That's me with Nick.
Because You know, Dwight just knows his shit, dude. He just knows what he's doing. He's super brilliant at it, and he has his process, and you know, you're gonna take things from that experience that will help you create on your own time, back in your own space.
On this record, I've been able to just let him drive some and sit at the console and choose sounds and stuff, because I want to make the record that's in their head, not that's in my head.
If I came to somebody and I offered them a calculus equation and I said, solve this, and you sat there until you learned calculus, you'd be there forever. But somewhere along the line, you learned basic addition, and then you learned subtraction, and then you learned multiplication, and then you learned division, and then you learned fractions, and then right? There is a base layer of knowledge that you laid before you tried to tackle calculus. Otherwise, you'd be like, why are there letters here? I don't even know what's happening. You know that letters mean something because you took algebra prior to calculus, right? Creating is the same way. You make a song, and that might be the best song you can make right now. But the next song you make, now you have the knowledge of this one that you've created, and you apply that to this one, and you apply that to this one. And there is kind of like this pyramid of learning that is involved in the creative process. I think so many people just want to arrive at, well, now I'm Beethoven because I sat in my room for 15 years. I've had to learn by doing. And I think that when you don't complete things, when you don't commit to things, when you are paralyzed by the possibility of, well, maybe I could do better, you don't have the opportunity to learn from what you've done and to continue to build upon that learning.
You learn from finishing and starting the next one.
100%.
That's really just exercise, you're just trying to get the experience.
And I came up under people who taught me a lot of stuff selflessly. I wouldn't be where I am, and I wouldn't know how to do what I do without them even just letting me watch what they did in the studio or whatever. And I think with these guys, first off, their instincts are good. All their starts were really good. We didn't change any of that. We just stayed with it and built from there. They're naturally good at writing and stuff. They just needed another ear to say, yeah, that's cool, or that's not cool. When they started chasing their stuff, it's them making the decisions. Even on these electro records, I don't really want to, if it's a programmed snare, I have input, and I'll definitely say if I don't like something, but I prefer for the artist to sit there and choose a snare sound. What does this snare sound like to you in your head? Then it's still a collaborative process, the same way it would be with a band and you're choosing a guitar part or a guitar or an amp to use or whatever. I guess I treat all this different type of records and music the same way. It's songs and music still to me, and the synth sounds just as personal as a guitar sound. I'm sure it dismays a lot of older guitars, but to the younger guys, these synths and everything, which is what they do, that's incredibly personal sound. That's why they all sound different to me.
When you're committing to it and you have that feedback in the room, there's just an energy that's there, and that's inspiring.
Yeah, remember, it's a quick spot. It's like, 2/8 notes wrong. Long. 2/8 notes wrong. Do you get it? Do you get it?
That's what drives a song to the next level. It just does.
And it's our first time really getting to do it the way that everybody else gets to do it. And now that we're in it, and now that we've been doing it for, this is only our third day, and listening to what's coming out, it's when I listen to other people's music and I'm like, how did they do that? How did they make the song sing like that? How did they just create this quality that it's just not, because Nick and I can do really well by ourselves. We've always felt like we couldn't quite get there. We're like 80%, 85% of where we needed to be be in the same conversation of people in our genre that are really, really crushing it. After 3 days in there, I'm like, now I know how they do it. They have help, and they have a team.
Radiohead record.
They have people to guide them and to facilitate their creative process and to bring the best out of them and to defeat and tamp down the worst. That's what Dwight has done for us so far, and I know it's only gonna get better as we get more comfortable every passing hour. You need that. And if you're not uncomfortable and you're not trying new things, you might not be really interested in being creative, because that's part of it, is going outside your comfort zone and going outside the box and trying new stuff. And so far from what I've been able to hear and from what we've been able to accomplish in just 20 hours in, it works. It's definitely working. Making music is something that I did to live, literally. I don't mean financially. It has been the opposite financially. It has kept me alive. It has allowed me to remain sane. It is the only way that I've learned to unpack my emotional baggage. You get so desperate to make sure that it works, that once you have a song that catches, right? Like, you know, Bury Me Low just goes hard for us all the time. More and more people find it. Holy crap, how have I never heard this before? And so then you start chasing that. You're like, well, we got to make another one of those, right? Like, we got to make another one of those. Because you're like, if we had one more of those, then maybe we could live. You know, there is a money aspect that comes into it. And there also is this like, well, now that's who I am, right? Like, we made Bury Me Low, that's the song that people like. We're that band now, we're the Bury Me Low band.
You fall victim to, okay, well, we have X song, whether it's, you know, Bury Me Low or Numb, and you try to continue to write that song in another way. You go about it the same way, and you fall into the formula trap. You fall into a lot of the sameness. And what happens is if you do 3 records like that, you got black, you got white, and then red, you become uninspired. And you start to think, okay, is the juice gone? Do Brent and I have some dynamic that's missing? Is it myself? Is it the fact that we've been in quarantine for a year and a half, or you start to go crazy?
And because something works, you feel like you want to keep going back to that. And it gets draining.
The formula itself that we created carried us to a certain point. But then that becomes the only process, right? I mean, you just have the formula, right? The choruses are gonna have to be the same because you have a drop chorus. It's very production heavy, and it becomes very copy-paste. You lose that organic ability, you lose that writing instinct, that creative eureka, just by trying something different and being fearless. So it's like, a lot of it was fear, because fear brings questions, and you start to doubt. And then doubt can turn into animosity. It can turn into friction.
And the other important thing for me is always like, we have direct contact to our supporters and friends. And you wonder like, man, am I gonna write a song that one of them maybe doesn't like?
Cry on it if you want to let it go. I told you, got a cold, cold shoulder.
They've become used to expecting this from us. And the last thing I would ever want is to like disappoint any of them. And I know that that's like not how you're supposed to think as a creator. And I know that's not how you're supposed to think when you make music. But you know, those people are important to me. And if I made something that they were like, well, why am I here now? I thought you made something that I could identify with, and now I can't. I would rip my heart out of my chest. It just would.
I just don't make music for fans. I never have in my own artistic career or when I'm as a producer. I make it for the band. And if they love it and they're into it, then I could give a shit. And this band loves what we're doing. So I'm just like, well, that's where they're headed then.
What's been cool here is that Dwight is helping me and helping Nick unlock the same kind of messages that I've had. But just, hey, you can say that you're sad. You can say that you are hurt. You don't have to just do it this tiny little way. There's other ways that you can do it.
I only crossed out one thing, dude.
Oh, that's a 99% or something.
I'll give it 98.
98?
Sometimes that didn't make sense to me. You know, I'm like, well, this is how you make it sound. This is how you do it. Now, I realize like we never had to do that. Again, it's about having somebody kind of show you the light on that.
I'm always one that is able to find words to describe how I'm feeling about anything. I felt like anything that wanted to bubble up out of my mouth was underselling how I felt. The typical like, dude, this is fucking sick. Like, oh my God, are you fucking kidding me? Like I said that out loud, but I'm like, no, I don't think anyone really understands how I feel about this right now. I don't think anyone really knows. Finally, Brent is in a position where he is the best version of himself in this record. I've tried my best to get Brent to be there, and I think we did a pretty damn good job thus far. But he has the sauce, he has the magic now.
I got a cold shoulder. Cry on it if you want to, let it go. I told ya, hold on and it'll haunt you. I got a cold shoulder.
From my standpoint, he just needed to have that confidence instilled within him. Dwight has reminded us, or keeps reminding us, you guys need to just have fun.
I need some sort of mangling thing. Spitfire audio.
That's so many.
This week is fun.
No turtle Nick.
I'm vindicated, bro.
I'm still on the banned list though. Somehow I have remained banned.
You're the only constant, dude.
And enjoy the process and be like, hey, I'm fucking here recording a record and having the time of my life. And I think when you constantly have that lightness about you, because we've been doing this a while, man.
Yeah.
It starts to get tough. But I think we got some lightness put back into us, and we're able to rely on our natural ability and our experience more so than our own self-critique. We're saying, you know what, let's actually have fun. Let's relax, and let's go in there and in 36 hours, write songs that by the end of the process, we're like, we fucking wrote that?
Yeah.
Like Dwight's like, that's your fucking
That's your band, dude. Yeah.
That's your band. That's
That's
what
your
y'all
band.
sound like.
That's what your band sounds like.
Oblivion, sun is shining, it's getting louder and louder. Run, let it, run, let it. Because watching the hand, it still stays in. Every day, you're starting to go, is that a gang? That is like, I'm talking like 50 of us.
The experience that you have creating something is just as important as what you've created at times. And whether that experience is painful, or it's joyous, or it's melancholic, or it's spontaneous, whatever it might be, you being able to remember that moment is, I think, valuable. And we will certainly remember these moments.
We're not going back to the Dropbox.
No
right?
shot,
Not
dude.
anymore.
Can't do it.
Not going back to the links. We're not going back to, it's like,
RIP 2019, 2020, RIP.
yeah, every week, at least 1, maybe 2 days a week, we're getting together and we're gonna write something new.
Or we're gonna
Or
go
3
get
things
lunch.
down.
Or we're gonna fuck off and watch TikToks.
Yeah, God forbid we hang out.
Yeah, like whatever it is that we do that day, that's what we're gonna do.
Right.
And we'll get our work done because we proved to ourselves we can get our work done in 4 hours.
Right.
So the idea that we needed 2 months to do it once is preposterous. And it's just because we didn't have the positive energy to do it.
It's gone. It's absolutely gone.
And now we will. And that's simple.
Initially it was, excuse me, have to burp.
This guy just gets on the camera and just starts fucking twisting everything. Doesn't even know if that unscrews it. No idea.
Dave, I'm sorry.
There we go. He's still twisting it. I mean, he's still.
We got lost along the way. Can you bring me back? Sun is setting, better run. Night is coming, ain't it fun? We got better, get your gun. Every day Oblivion. Sun is setting, better run. Night is coming, ain't it fun? We got better, get your gun. Every day Oblivion. Sun is setting, better run. Night is coming, sun is
Climb the ladder.
No girls allowed.
I mean, oh, you won't be on the radio.
Sheesh.